UKLC is presented by Barclays and Curry's PC World.
Welcome everybody to the UKLC, presented by Barclays and brought to you by Curry's PC World. My name is Scoundrel, and today on the desk, or either just the casting thing, I have Orcs, who will be, I know mate, I know, I'm making the same face, Orcs, who will be guiding us through the games that we've got going on tonight. Obviously we're nearing the end of the UKLC season. There's a sort of a limited amount of games to go, so really from this point onwards, everything counts for the teams. Still a lot to play for. The table is very close, at least towards the middle and the top end of the table. So there's lots of playoff spots up for grabs. And I really just kind of want to start off by diving into it and having a look at those standings, because we can kind of have a look at where we are right now, and that'll give you context to the conversation. And you can see between Envision and Enclave, from first to sixth, there is a small number of 2 wins separating the teams. Obviously, Barrage and Bulldog, we don't talk about Bulldog, but Barrage and Bulldog have got a little bit of a way to go. But even Barrage aren't completely out of the conversation just yet. I think they're there or thereabouts, but realistically, from Envision upwards, it is all to play for, Orcs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's the fact that we have 2 weeks left, and 1 week can be the difference between you being locked in at the 5 points that we see Envision on and Demise on. And then you can get 2 wins and you can be tied up with the likes of Enclave, M&M, and Munster. The problem is they're still going to be keeping on picking up wins. So it just puts the importance on every single game from here on out. We have 4 games left. That's going to decide playoffs, going to decide who makes it up into those top spots. So you can't be dropping games at this point. And it's 4 games left for Bulldog to get a win on the board, because obviously they are ruled out of playoffs. No way they make it up to there. But that's not the important thing. At this point in the split, they've made 2 more roster swaps. They're just looking to get a point on the board.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. We'll get to the Bulldog kind of conversation when we get to their game. There has been some interesting roster swaps, some old names coming back into the fray, which is really exciting for me, and I know Orcs as well, as we know these players quite well. But let's have a look at the schedule. We can have a look at the games coming your way today. We can talk about them as it goes. Enclave versus Munster. I actually think this is going to be a very, very interesting match. It will be very telling, given that Munster has kind of been going from strength to strength. Then we're going to have Barrage versus Demise, M&M then taking on Envision, another interesting one to keep our eyes on. At the end of the day, London versus Bulldog. London actually tweeted out a really, really funny edited Tom and Jerry gif, which I would recommend you go and have a look at, because it did make me chuckle. But nonetheless, with the sort of the refreshed Bulldog roster, there might be a chance, especially with not to spoil too much, but they're bringing Nutri back into the jungle, and they've always had a very, very good head for the game. So they've always been really, really switched on when it comes to League of Legends. That might refresh up the roster just a little bit. But look, let's focus on this first game of the day, Orcs. Enclave versus Munster. Where do we start? What are we looking at here? Really, for me, the bot lane is where I'm going to be focusing my attention. Rabstar and Shogun, I think, have the potential to be outright and heads above the rest of the competition. But Blue Spirits and Jepe have been, in my eyes, the best performing bot lane in our entire competition.
Yeah, I think they've been really good, and last week they solidified that even more. They were looking at challenge in bot lane 2v2s, playing things like the Callisto Nautilus, and really putting the hurt down. And I think Enclave's bot lane, we know they have potential, but they just haven't shown it consistently. Rabstar's been a bit of a liability when not on things like the Ezreal, so we could see that being targeted. Put them onto something like the Ashe, which is difficult to keep alive with the immobility. And I think this is definitely an avenue where Munster can attack Enclave. And the question is, where will Enclave attack back in return? Because Munster have looked good across the board. I will say, though, I've been very back and forth on it, but DBL, rough start of the split, and then just came into form and looked great. I think last week, watching over it, some questionable decisions. And I think as well for Munster, there was some questionable play around the neutral objectives. They're set up when they're swapping up towards the Herald. That did cost them a little bit, even against the likes of Bulldog. So I still think Munster's a real deal, but they're not flawless. And I think if Enclave bring their A game, we could definitely see them taking this one.
Well, because honestly, I think even though we might be painting this Munster favored, I think it's closer to 50-50 than most people would imagine. What do Enclave do? Where do Enclave win? Like, I think I've said the bot lane for Munster seems to be the most consistent sort of part of their entire roster right now. But where do Enclave put pressure through to sort of at least try and expose some of those weaknesses? Is it going to be a top-sided play through only Angel, or are we looking elsewhere on the map?
I mean, I think I wouldn't necessarily play topside through only Angel. You can potentially throw him a bone there and make him be like a late game split push win condition. I think that's a strong option. But typically, I think bot lane is always going to be the big win condition. We've seen that, you know, there's a high Calista priority for the side of Munster. We know that the likes of TF is a really popular champion at the moment and does a lot of work into that. Things like the Galio as well. I think you just put a ton of pressure down bot. I think you give Rabstar comfortable pick, you free up Shogun to roam around the map, and then you just take that momentum and run away with it. And hopefully that'll be enough to sort of dissuade No Name from getting involved. Because unfortunately, I feel like if you just sit back, Munster will have their way with the game. They will destroy you. And I think if you don't do something to snowball your own bot lane, you could find them struggling in the 2v2. So play off that aggression. Play off the fact that Munster have shown they're very heavily reliant on their bot lane. And you could potentially find an avenue to punish and answer back in return.
Yeah, I think definitely maybe we're going to be seeing more focus, and that might come down to draft as well. I mean, one of the things that I think Blue Spirits has had in his favor is he's had that breadth of champion pool. You know, he's been able to play the mages, he's been able to play the late game, basic attack scaling carries, he's been able to play things like the Callista as well. So he's had like a very, very diverse champion pool at his disposal, which has allowed them to work through sort of many different types of strategy that they wanted to employ coming into these games. Then you look over at Enclave. Rabstar's been a little bit more rigid. He was obviously very much more towards the Varus when it was available, but maybe hasn't shown the same kind of breadth that Blue Spirits has shown. Do you think that I mean, what do you think that is going to be more important in the draft? What do we think is going to be like the bot lane that should be focused? Are we looking for something like the Callista lanes, or are we looking for more sort of scaling on these sides? What do you think the bot lane needs for either squad to be able to sort of take advantage of this game?
I think priority is really important. We've seen Munster consistently look to have priority in their lanes, and it frees up No Name to just dominate the map. So I think being able to contest that is an important thing for the side of Enclave. I think having a safe pick for Rabstar is valuable because he still hasn't shown me that on things like the Ashe, the Varus, that he can reliably position in team fights. So something like the Ezreal gives him a lot more breathing room and a lot more allows to facilitate Shogun to impact the map as well. So I think Ezreal for me would definitely be the big Enclave pick on the current patch. And I think it's just have something to contest the priority, have some early skirmishing power. And I also think it's a knock-on effect, but mid lane will be super important. And it's because mid lane is going to affect jungle, mid lane is going to affect bot lane. You need priority there, so you can potentially shut down No Name, shut down Jeppe and Blue Spirits, and then Enclave can look to enact their own plays.
So what is in current meta? What do you think the mid lane is sort of a priority pick for you? What would you say was big in the mid lane for either of these mid laners?
Well, I think Twisted Fate, definitely a strong pick. I think Galio is strong as well, in terms of just to have that priority and roaming down. But you have like the mage picks that are still solid, like the Azir, the Corki. Azir can get the priority early. Corki has the package timers to play around. And then there's a lot of picks that sort of look to counteract those champions. Obviously, Syndra is still extremely strong in the mid lane for the fact that she has a ton of pressure and can just spike super hard in the mid game and just dominate a game. So that will likely see banning out, but there's a lot of picks you can go to, and it's just basically a game of sort of rock, paper, scissors in the sense of what are you playing for? Are you playing for that roaming potential that potentially a Corki package has? Are you playing for the raw priority that an Azir has and the safety in team fights later? I think it's just very much going to come down to who finds the advantage in this mid lane matchup and then enacting that pressure to the rest of the map.
Yeah, and I think D.Va has been quite often labeled the best mid laner in the UKLC. Jacob, I think, has been solid, but never really kind of stood out to me as like the insane carry mid laner from Enclave. Really, I do think D.Va is going to have the advantage in this particular one-on-one, but obviously we know that it's not a 1v1 in the mid lane. There's lots of jungle influence that comes into it too. So we're going to cut to a quick break. When we're back, we'll be going towards that champion select for our first game of the day. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are into draft here for Enclave versus Munster Rugby Gaming. Enclave will be on the blue side, and Munster will be on the red. And as Dan said, lots of focus is going to be on that mid lane matchup as well as the bot lane draft as well, because it does feel for both of these squads that the key to unlocking the game will be through that bot lane.
Yeah, we see the Callista band away. This is obviously a contested pick. We've seen Munster relying on it pretty heavily for their side. But ultimately, it's a situation where you don't want to necessarily trade it off. Twisted Fate deny from D.Va. Obviously, a lot of power in that Roman pressure. And Karth is something that just is incredibly strong in the current patch.
Yeah, Karth is mostly played in bot lane from what we've seen and has a very high win rate in high elo solo queue. The Nidalee against No Name, who has proven to be a very proficient Nidalee player. That'll be taken off the board. As you said, D.Va, very well known for his Twisted Fate. And it's going to be the Trundle, which is something that we've seen Rafa default on a lot. And in a very rare circumstances, I guess, could go up to Only Angel. It's something that actually Only Angel has played in his career a long time ago, admittedly. But that is something that we definitely expect to be flexible in Enclave, but also something that is very comfortable for Only Angel with the set first pick.
Yeah, it's a really nice flex because obviously you can put it support, top, or jungle. But a quick answer, Ashe is rising up as like the top tier AD carry right now, has prior against Ezreal, can set up picks against the likes of a Aphelios and outranges him. So it could have been a first pick for Enclave in all honesty, but this does mean that they essentially get to see what Munster pull now. But a volley bed doesn't show much either. It's a flex as well. You can put it up in the top lane, you can put it in the jungle. So it still offers that flexibility, but it does mean that I'm going to be revealed a little bit here. And it's going to be the Ezreal. So this is something that I talked about as a really good safe pick for Rabstar. I think he's had issues with keeping himself fit, safe in team fights. So him taking this sets him up for that. The one concern is, though, this really lacks in terms of priority up against the likes of an Ashe. So I could see an Ashe Karma coming out from Munster in this situation. I think Enclave need to think what they're going to be able to do to counteract that, because you will just permanently lose priority in that situation and have a really rough time.
Yeah, and it's going to be the Graves for Rafa locked in here. So a bit of a throwdown in that jungle here for Rafa. He has a very high farming, high experience gain jungler looking to put pressure onto No Name. And we'll see what Munster choose to respond with. Like you said, you know, like there's a couple of supports that could be available to pair up with the Enclave for Shogun. Obviously, I'm assuming that they are probably going to be targeted in the next phase. Although, with the lock-in of Azir, maybe we see some of the better blind mid laners taken off the board, like the Orianna, which has become so popular over the last couple of patches.
Yeah, I think Orianna ban could be fair, but essentially by picking the Azir, you're sort of giving yourself a lot of opportunity to maintain priority. Zoe is something that can challenge that. The poke is also something that Azir doesn't like to deal with. So essentially just, they've gone, right, we're happy with the Ashe into Ezreal. We don't necessarily need to pick our support now. We're just going to try and deal with what else your composition can offer. And we see the Thresh ban come out from Enclave. I feel like a Karma ban as the next ban from them would make a lot of sense. Although you could look to specifically target the jungle or top lane if you're trying to force that volley bear into a certain role. That could be a decent shout as well.
The Nico, which has gained a lot of priority, especially against shorter range. I mean, I see the Nico picked into the Callista quite a lot. The Karma ban is there, as you said,
yeah.
Orcs. Talk to me a bit about the Nico, though, because that's something that I see picked up more against Callista and things like that.
To me, I don't think the Nico's good here for the side of Enclave because you're playing into an Azir. It's very hard for you to get the ult off against the Azir. It's very hard to get in range of him. And I also don't think the lane matchup is very good. But it's a big pick for Jacob. I think that's really the reason they're banning it away in this specific situation. And it is good at matching the priority of D.Va. So essentially, they are shutting down that element of it. Now we're seeing Malphite locked in for DBL. So you know the matchup is likely, not for sure, but likely going to be that set in the top lane. Blue Spirit's feeling confident in that matchup, and it gives you so much CC potential onto this backline of Enclave. Now, it is an Ezreal who's going to be hard to hit. A Graves is quite bulky and obviously has that dash, so not necessarily the best situation to have the Malphite, but if DBL is feeling confident in this matchup, it allows you just to sort of leave your support for counter pick.
It's going to be Jacob taking the Corki. One of the picks that he has performed well on throughout the course of the UKLC. Has that ability to match roam potential, has the wave clear built in as well. Generally an all-round solid mid lane pick in most circumstances. And now it's going to be, very interestingly, supports left right until the end of the draft. Not often that you get to see this. But I guess for Blue Spirits and Jeppe, they really want to get a slight edge in this matchup, which is wait a second, it's going to be top lane Kennen and support set. Shogun taking set down with Ezreal. Let's see how Munster go. They have one final pick to respond with.
Yeah, so I think in this situation, seeing the Malphite, especially because you have the Graves as well, and even the Corki on the top side, who as much as his AP damage and Ninja Tab, he gets so much value there. You want to take something that's got some AP damage. It's also a great threat onto the Ashe and potentially the Azir. So they decided to go for the Kennen here. Something like a Mordekaiser would have been great as well. But the end result is the same. They have something that's going to challenge DBL, and it does mean that they essentially, hand over that counter pick to Munster and go for that set. But in all honesty, it's not too bad. You're happy with the set because you can challenge these two. The problem is, in terms of scaling, in terms of priority, Munster are absolutely winning in the bot lane, absolutely winning in the mid lane, and top lane, you're essentially happy to play weak side. So I think this is given the tools for No Name to potentially challenge in these early skirmishes. But I think the concern would be there is a lot of sort of mid-game spike coming out from the side of Enclave. You have the Triforce power spikes for Ezreal and the Corki, and obviously Kennen could be super relevant in those team fights. So honestly, I like Munster's draft more. I think they have tools to set themselves up for No Name to have a strong early game. Mid game, they just need to put the brakes on a bit, go okay, give you some space. And then into the late game, as long as you can keep the Ashe safe, the Azir is just going to do so much work. Like, you have a Lulu, you have a great front line, you have a great back line. It's really on Enclave to challenge that. And it's eventually going to get to the point where it becomes very difficult to do.
Yeah, the only thing that I have a little bit of a worry for when it comes to Munster is that, you see a lot of Kennens picked specifically into Ashe because she is so immobile. But I guess the way that we look at it is that it's actually going to be moderately difficult for anybody else to follow up on the Kennen unless you have that Corki going aggressively. So this is definitely a composition for Enclave that I think if they get ahead, it's going to be difficult for Munster Rugby Gaming to get a foot back in. But if things go even and we get towards the later stages of the game, I am valuing Munster's composition a bit more just because of how bulky their front line is, just because they had that scaling advantage, like you said.
Yeah, and I think, there's definitely windows for both teams to take this game. And I think look at those big spikes for the likes of the Corki, the Ezreal, when we're hitting that Man Immune Triforce for both of them and it's fully stacked. That is where we can definitely see the side of Enclave going, okay, we are super comfortable to fight right now. We're ready to take any advantage we can. And they can translate that into a big lead. And then for the side, really, of Munster, it's like you want to try and challenge Enclave, so you're giving yourself some breathing room, but ultimately you're not too concerned if the game goes late because you have the tools to sort of deal with that later on. But I think it's an exciting one. We expected a lot out of this game, and I think both compositions have their strengths, have their weaknesses. And I think if Enclave are on the A game, we should see a close match.
We're about to load on to Summoner's Rift, and as Dan said, this should be a close affair. If we look at the standings, Enclave, M&M, and Munster are all 7-3. So this would allow one of those teams to get a clear lead in the standings, at least until M&M play later on today. But this is definitely one of those must-win games to be able to secure yourself at least a head-to-head advantage over your opponents. And the actual head-to-head advantage right now from the previous sort of half of the round robin is Munster Rugby Gaming. They have that 1-0 up over Enclave. So Enclave could tie that, or we could see a resounding head-to-head advantage being picked up by Munster at the end of this game.
And that's the thing, when teams are so close, the head-to-head is going to have increased value. Like, that is what will come down to when it becomes very close at the end, because both of these teams are 7-3 at the top of the table. A win may not completely shake up the ladder, because again, you could lose a game next week or tomorrow. But ultimately, the head-to-head is the thing that can really define this matchup. So Enclave very much need this win, in all honesty.
And they have a composition that could definitely do it. Like you talked about the snowball potential, the 2-item spikes, even the 3-item spikes that they can work with. I'm expecting around the 15 to 20 minute mark, we're going to see Enclave start to pop off because those Triforces are going to start to come online. You're going to have 1 or 2 items on the Kennen. There'll be some big neutral objectives to fight over, which is where the Enclave roster really shines. I feel like in the early to sort of mid portion of this game, they have that neutral objective control with the fact that the Kennen is just so powerful in those situations. Plus, if you followed Only Angel's career over the course of the UK scene, this is a pick that he is very comfortable on. We've seen him on Kennen numerous times throughout the years, and it's something that I'm assuming he's going to have plenty of experience for in terms of searching for those flank opportunities. Ramstar and Shogun will get the slight edge here. Rafa now looking to be a bit more aggressive and maybe splitting up the jungle here, going towards that blue buff.
Just a level 1 Azir can't really do much, and we'll get some poke on a Rafa, and essentially both mid lane and bot lane there for Munster played to defend their jungle. So D.Va actually missed some CS in the mid lane there, lost out on priority. And Jeppe and Blue Spirits, we talked about how they would have priority level 1. They could have had it there. But instead, they saw the threat from Rafa moving into their jungle. They decided to play defensive instead, and it means No Name secured his blue. And now, as you can see, as soon as Blue Spirits and Jeppe want priority, it's very easy for them to pick it up. And I think also a factor is Brabstar and Shogun don't feel as comfortable knowing that Rafa is moving up towards that top side, and it now has been signaled to the team. So Blue Spirits and Jeppe, they are confident to play as aggressive as they want, as long as they don't get caught in a CC chain by Shogun.
And you should have that range advantage versus Shogun, right? You should, as long as you're not disrespecting his ability to pull you in, you should, in this matchup, have that range advantage versus him, and that should be enough to allow you to get control and priority in this lane. And you can see Jeppe.
Sorry, I was going to say, it's not just a range advantage, but also a big factor is the polymorph from Lulu. If you try and run up, Lulu can just polymorph you, and you're not going to get your stun off. You're not going to find the angle, especially as Ashe has perma-slows onto you. If you do manage to flash engage, that's only really a good choice if you know you found them in a bad spot, or if you have your jungler there. So without your jungler there, you're waiting for one of Munster's bot laners to overstep. Otherwise, you're probably just going to get polymorphed. And that is the power of the Lulu, why she's risen in priority so much. It's not just the shielding and the buff she gives JD carry, but a polymorph, it's essentially a stun. Like, obviously, it does mean you can still move around slowly, but you can't attack, you can't cast spells. It's super limiting, especially to the likes of something like a Set that obviously wants to follow up on a combo, or even a Kennen as well.
Completely agree with you, Dan. It's something that has existed for a very long time, and one of the things that has always, I think, been underrated as part of Lulu's kit. Like, it's one of the most annoying and insane forms of CC that we have, especially because it's basically a point and click in that respect as well. And I think people often do massively undervalue that when it comes to Lulu.
Well, I think something you can look at is we've seen a big move from Riot away from point and click silences. You know, we had that on LeBlanc, we had that on Kassadin. Lulu's retained hers, and not only is it a silence, but it also disarms and slows. And it's the fact that you can use it on your ally to speed them up as well. Lulu's W is honestly one of the best abilities in the game, just for the fact it has versatility and the fact that obviously it's so good at just shutting champions down. Like, there's a lot of champions like Jacob diving in on a package, Brabstar Arcane shifting in, Rafa dashing in, and it just eliminates anything they can do almost instantly.
You could talk about the top lane matchup a little bit here, because obviously DBL under the thumb as you'd expect. Only Angel should have a significant advantage there. The fact that DBL isn't ridiculously behind in CS, he's a little bit behind, obviously, as you'd expect, but he's just managed to hold his own where he can. But Only Angel taking any opportunity to just harass and put pressure on him. And like you said, because it is more AP, more magic damage on that top side, that's not really what Malphite wants to deal with. Although we would say here comes a very early dragon attempt by No Name. And again, I think that comes through that bot lane priority that Jeppe and Blue Spirits has been able to achieve.
Yeah, and you can also read on the situation that Only Angel's pushing heavily. He's not backing off despite the wave being overextended. You can tell he feels very comfortable on the top side. It suggests that Rafa was on the top side of the map. And one of the powers of Ashe as well is the vision that you can achieve. Just throw that arrow down, and obviously you can track wherever the enemy jungler is. And as long as you have tabs on Rafa, you can go for plays like this. So now seeing No Name up in levels. We have that first dragon locked in. This is the sort of early game we wanted from Munster, and it's been a good start so far. And with Malphite having 6, he can also TP in if needed.
You talked about it just there. The polymorph as Shogun takes a lot of damage. Now Blue Spirits, they are overextending ever so slightly here. Here comes Rafa. They might have to all in this scenario as Rafa comes through. There's a teleport now coming through. As you said, great exhaust onto Rafa, who's immediately forced back. D.Va will come through. There is a tower dive potential with No Name. It does look like Munster Rugby Gaming are going to stick on this bottom side of the map for now, as No Name will get spotted out by a control ward. I wonder if they're going to go for the shuffle here. They have No Name, not able to disrupt the turret, though, because he doesn't have his ultimate just yet. And I think Munster don't want to take off any more than they can chew right now.
I mean, they can't risk it with the Kennen TP being available. So instead, they just poke them out, play it slow. Kennen's not going to TP in if they're not committing to the dive. So it was the best case scenario for Munster. It was actually a really nice read on that situation not to dive, because I think Only Angel coming in with this with the Maelstrom would have just absolutely decimated them. So nice restraint. I think it was positive. And ultimately, although Blue Spirits and Jeppe did overstep a little bit, they had the heal, they had the exhaust, they had the TP from D.Va, and it all worked out pretty fortunately overall. And as much as Jacob got some alone time mid, he's not actually up in CS just because of the power of an Azir in the early levels in terms of pushing a lane up. And D.Va has managed to maintain that priority and that CS lead.
So all coming up favor of Munster right now in the early start of this game. Obviously, some of that gold lead offset by the lead that only Angel has naturally managed to accrue on the top side of the map, as we completely expect it in the matchup that he's in. But everything else slightly edged towards Munster Rugby Gaming as the very early swap comes out, obviously, because we're going for that 8-minute Rift Herald spawn. Both Enclave and Munster Rugby Gaming make that swap happen. They are there to contest, although Shogun, that's a lot of damage onto him already.
I mean, I might actually go down. Yeah.
I think he's just straight up dead. Blue Spirits punishing Shogun there. And that's the power of Lulu as well. The help picks, just able to do that much extra with the Ashe in this scenario.
And the thing is, it's one of those situations where if Shogun isn't able to go in and find the fight, he just has to walk out. And he doesn't get extra speed walking away with his Q. Oh, we've seen a dive come in.
Oh, they are. Here comes No Name under the turret. And that's another kill for Blue Spirits. This really, really great carry in terms of talent in the bot lane, and he's having another excellent game in a match that really does matter. You know, the outcome of this match is very important for the standings in the UKLC, and Blue Spirits and Jeppe quickly becoming maybe even unarguably the best bot lane that we have in our tournament.
Well, it's the fact that we talked about the priority advantage. That's one thing. We could expect to see them come ahead in the matchup. But finding that kill there, which is an opportunistic pickup from the likes of Blue Spirits and Jeppe, and they punished. And it was well played from them. They weren't too concerned about the threat from Shogun, who's obviously not level 6 yet. And I think Shogun was just a little bit disrespectful. The wave was pushed up against you. You weren't going to find your engage there. And by stepping up, there's no way for you to get out again. You don't have the flash. You can't proc phase rush without going in. And Ashe will just slow you down. And they get those 2 kills. Gives them a lot of control over the top side. We see the reset from Blue Spirits just to give an item advantage. And Enclave aren't in a position where they can do the Herald because they've kind of just really lost this bot lane already.
DBL and Only Angel, the only kind of light here for the Enclave roster is that top lane matchup that's obviously going very heavily in favor of the Kennen for the time being, but he hasn't picked up any major advantages because there hasn't really been any focus, no potential tower dives, not much jungle attention from Rafa on the top side of the map, because as you very correctly predicted before coming into this, Dan, that this has been a bot lane focused game. Like, a lot of the attention has gone towards Blue Spirits, Jeppe, Rabstar, and Shogun being a clear win condition for these two rosters.
I think I would talk about the effect as well that this lead has for Munster. It's going to mean they can secure that second dragon. It means they secure the Herald, give themselves a sizable gold lead. We expected them to have the advantage in the early game, but this is more significant than we would have factored in. Actually, I'm going to hold that thought. We're seeing a TP come in from the Kennen. Looks like they are wanting to fight this one.
Yeah, Only Angel looking for a big flank coming out here. Does flash over the wall and gets straight onto D.Va. There's the ultimate coming in from No Name. And suddenly No Name takes the first bite. Takes down Only Angel as D.Va flashes into the Rift Herald pit. And they will pick it up. Exit strategy being thought of as they are being split up by the Graves. In the meantime, Shogun getting taken out by Blue Spirits once more. That man is so strong. And Munster, they take the team fight and they take the Rift Herald.
Just a mistake, I feel like, from Enclave. They opted into this fight without the proper setup. It wasn't even like you got a good flank. Oh, we're seeing more here. Well,
D.Va,
not
man,
really.
he just... No, he dances away.
It felt like the setup wasn't really there. Your Ezreal, I mean, look at Ezreal's items and tell me that you want to fight that. I think it was just a situation where Enclave went, oh, this does not feel good to be given the sub, but it's like, it's fine. You've made a mistake. You still have your mid-game spike, but now things have gotten even worse. At this point, I'm like, is there going to be a mid-game spike? Is Ezreal going to finish his items before, Ashe is on 3 items? And that is the concern for me right now, because every time you take a contest like that and you lose, you just make things so much worse for your team.
Yeah, because when you're playing a comp like this, and you sort of talked about it at the beginning of the game, but when you're playing a comp like this, you're playing a Corki, you're playing an Ezreal, like one of the biggest spikes that you're going to get in the game is going to be a Triforce spike. Like, it's just such an insane item with those 2 particular carries, and that Triforce spike usually gives you sort of game dominance between sort of 15 and 25 minutes, I would say. And that's like when you get a lot of your work done. You usually look to secure soul or at least get loads of dragons. You look to maybe get a good influential Baron fight. But every time that you lose before you activate that spike, you chop minutes off. Like, it becomes 18 to 25 minutes or 19 to 25 minutes. And that's less time for you to get stuff done on the map. and that's less time for you to snowball and consolidate and take towers and build a gold lead. And that's great for Munster because, again, you talked about the scaling. It's kind of in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's in their favor. I feel like it's going to get harder and harder for Enclave to execute as the game goes on. Ezreal becomes less of a raw DPS output, as much as he's still in a good spot in the late stages. Compared with created carry, he won't do as much. You have this huge front line from Munster, who's just going to get so much value. It's going to be very difficult. I think the range advantage as well is a big factor from the Azir, so it's just hard. And I mean, we saw Jacob with a package a second ago. Why are you fighting that Herald without the package? It's just a lot of questions to me for Enclave. I think they kind of messed up this early game. Oh, I mean, definitely messed up this early game after that. The fadeaway.
Oh no, the fadeaway! You hate to see it when he throws out the seismic shard and just like it just chases you down. You know that you're dead. That just kind of sums up Enclave's early game. The Kennen just got solo killed by the Malphite.
Yep, I mean, that says it all. At this point, it's like we talked about how Munster should have the lead in the early game. This is where it gets scary because your spikes aren't coming in for your carries. Rabstar is sitting on a Tyr and a Sheen. You're against Blade Moon King Ashe. Third dragon spawning in 3 minutes. It's very scary because if Munster get third dragon, and it is an Ocean Soul, I cannot emphasize this enough. If Munster get the Ocean Soul, game's over. Unless something catastrophically bad happens, it just becomes impossible to kill DBL or No Name because they'll be ahead of the curve. They'll have more items than you because they're ahead in gold. And the Ocean Soul just means you never, ever catch up. You don't have the damage to cut through the healing, let alone just the raw tankiness they have. So, and I'm looking at this game, I'm saying in 2.5 minutes, are Enclave going to be able to team fight this? Well, only Angel hasn't finished an item. Jacob and Rabstar only just finishing the mana immunes. It's like, it feels very rough. And this is the problem. You know, this is where we're looking for Enclave to step up. We're not seeing it.
It's a little bit of a small skirmish opening up on the bottom side of the map, but nothing will come of it. The Ezreal ultimate will go wide, and Jeppe and Blue Spirits will just back off here. Again, setting up for that third dragon spawning in 2 minutes, but, I mean, they've got so much setup to do in terms of vision. Maybe just looking to crack one of the towers and the bottom side of the map. Not a single tier 1 has fallen despite the advantage that Munsters have managed to gain so far. And it is only a 2,000 gold lead. But again, any lead that they have right now is only going to be amplified the further that we go into this game. And Shogun and Rafa are waiting in the wings here to potentially gank Jeppe and Blue Spirits.
And I think that's the thing, is that there's no huge pressure on Munster to take this game instantly. There's no, oh, we need to finish the game now. They're happy taking it slow. So we haven't seen them overcommit for these towers because they feel comfortable just to stall the game out and play at their own pace. Now, D.Va might be able to get this one here, but could be in a bit of trouble if he overstays. Oh, but he throws his own tower down. Oh, and the dodge away!
Oh, dodge away, and now D.Va's trying his best, shuffling back and forward. It's going to be a 1 versus 3 here as Rabstar is going to be the target, but will not get taken out. However, they do end up losing 2 tier 1s, and it is really only a single kill traded back.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a misplay there from D.Va. Obviously moved away from the tower. The flash was nice, but he does go down. But the end result is 2 towers for Munster, 1 kill for Enclave. It wasn't even a shutdown kill. They didn't kill Blue Spirit, so ultimately it's still a massive upgrade for Munster, even with that mistake. And we're now 40 seconds away from that dragon. We're getting the reset in from Ashe. And I think you can just look at the item difference between the 80 carries. We don't have the completed Gauntlet from Rabstar. We don't have the completed Man Immune. Jacob is sitting on not even pieces of the Triforce. He's sitting on a longsword and a Ruby Crystal. Whereas D.Va has Nash's Tooth and the Haunted Guys, which is a massive spike for him. So I don't think Enclave can take this team fight unless they play it flawlessly. And that just means you're going to be on soul point for the rest of the game.
And as you said, like, this is a game that Enclave needed to take advantage of in the very early game and kind of run away with it. And just by not having that right now, you know, this is the point in the game where if they were doing well, you would think that, like, Triforces will have been activated already. You would think that we would have at least been maybe even building up towards that in either side. Shogun getting caught out again by D.Va. He's just dead here. No amount of shielding is going to save his life, and it'll be the 3rd dragon in the game very easily picked up here for Munster. Shogun's not had the most optimal performance on that set so far.
No, it's been caught out quite a bit, and ultimately it's just costing them more. They're now on soul point, and I mean, I think that's the thing. Just branching off what you were saying before, I don't think they needed to like have a great early game. They just needed to not have this early game. You know, they could have afforded to fall behind a bit and then spike on that mid game. But now they're so far behind. they've missed it. That spike isn't going to come because when you're hitting those item spikes for Jacob and Rabstar, Munster are going to be so far ahead. They're going to be looking towards that Ocean Soul, which is up in 4.5 minutes. It's just very hard. We need to see Enclave find a couple of picks, and then we need, on that next dragon, they need to find the perfect team fight. I want like a huge package from Jacob. I want Only Angel to get the Mother of all Cannon ults. That is the only way they actually come back in this game, because if that Ocean Dragon is picked up by Munster, I'm ready to call it.
I mean, I'm almost ready to call it now. I even think that a couple of picks, it had to be numerous over many periods of the game, and especially they need to convert it into something tangible. And obviously a first dragon, that's not exactly a big objective take. They need to somehow get picks into turrets, picks into a potential Baron. Like I just don't see a really good avenue for Enclave to utilize. Although I will say I have no idea what DBL was doing here. He will escape with his ultimate. He's drawn the attention of 4 members of Enclave down, but obviously no Baron spawn means that Munster can't really do anything with it.
Yeah, I think the critical thing is that with the picks, it's not just the kills themselves and the gold, but also burning summoners. So they're getting the Malphite pretty non-influential there. They wanted more than that. You want to get the flashes. You want to get Blue Spirit's flash down. You want to get DBL's flash, so he's less of a threat. And then ideally, when you get to that dragon fight in 3 minutes, you want to stomp it so hard that you can instantly go to Baron, and then you're really in the game. I agree that a single dragon isn't going to win this game for Enclave, but they, as much as I've sort of put down their spikes and said those spikes aren't going to come, we're still seeing Rabstar with the completed mana immune, you know? Yes, they're 3k gold down. Yes, they're obviously not a good spot, but it is something to play around at least. So they can use that to try and find a window back in the game, and we have to see if it's going to work or not. Ultimately, Jacob is a bit behind that, obviously going for the more expensive Triforce. 2 minutes 50 on that dragon, and I think that's just going to be the fight that dictates the game. If Enclave can win it, they have a chance of getting back in. If Munster win it, game's over.
2 item spikes for Ashe now, by the way. Blade of the Ruin King and Runans has been completed. We're working towards our second item here for D.Va, who dives over the wall to put pressure onto Jacob. DBL, once again, the target forced to flash away, but there's 3 members committed to the bottom side of the map here. This might just end up being well, it's definitely going to be a tier 2. I mean, what else can they get from this if you're Munster?
I think they have the wave clear. They're actually chunking D.Va out now, so maybe they go for the fight here.
Going to try and flash in. This might be one of those opportunities that they're looking for. Again, Only Angel has that flash available with D.Va. Now on the backside, they're going to use this River Scuttler to try and get away. Now no-name the target. Here comes the Baron spawning. D.Va doing what he can to zone away the Enclave roster, and I do feel they are bought enough distance to try to reset Enclave.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the idea in the heads of Enclave, but ultimately Munster played that very well, kited away, used the slows, and the cannon never could get in range to use that ultimate, and his TP is now burnt. He still has that flash, but when you're thinking about opportunities to punish Munster in this team fight, I'm thinking cannon flanks. And with the TP down, that's going to be a lot less of a threat. We have flash up on everyone in Munster apart from DBL. They did burn DBL's flash, that's something, but bare minimum in that fight, I would like to see Blue Spirits be forced to flash, maybe Jeppe as well, and that's when I'm looking towards this next team fight and going, okay, Enclave have hope. Now, I'm still concerned that Munster have too many tools for Enclave to win this one, but they have to fight it. They can't opt out of this fight or the game is over.
Yeah, this is like the one opportunity that they've got with Only Angel on the top side of the map. It's still a minute to go, but you can imagine Enclave will start to collect their roster, look for a 5v5 opportunity. They have got some spikes to work with, but the Triforce not yet there for Jacob, and that might be a limiting factor in this teamfight situation.
I think he might be going to pick it up now and then grab the package. I think he should be close. We can check gold. We should be able to see. He's been following up a storm, so he is very close to having the Triforce. Yeah. And I think he's trying to wait for that. He has TP, so he can TP in with package and Triforce. That is a big spike. You know, as much as they're behind, as much as it's not ideally when you want to hit the spike, it's still a massive power spike that they can utilize. And that could be enough to take this one, but he needs to go fast. You can see him recall now. So he's going to grab this package and come in. Enclave, this fight is all or nothing.
This is literally it. Like you said, the teleport will be there. He'll have the package available as well. And Enclave are positioning for the fight. There is a flank teleport coming in from Jacob. That's a big engage by Shogun. There comes the ultimate from Only Angel. And they get Blue Spirits down. Blue Spirits is down. And now DBL on the front line, but D.Va untouched. It is a fight that Enclave needed to win, and win it they have. What a big wombo combo, playing exactly off the spikes that you mentioned, Dan.
I mean, that's the thing. You have the spikes, you have the power, and critically, you found the team fight. Great package from Jacob just to split them up. So it's essentially dealing with half the team at once. And then only Angel found Blue Spirits, even with the flash, and that was enough. Is this game changing? No, we still have a lead from Munster. They're still on sole point, but it gives some room to Enclave to get back into this match.
Well, they needed that room. And actually, realistically, the gold lead is not that big. You know, it's 2,000. Now, admittedly, you know, we have talked about the scaling, but even with the scaling, you have a Corky, you have a Graves, you have an Ezreal. These are not picks that fall off the face of the planet. It's not like we're talking about a Callista here. You know, we're talking about pretty good scaling picks. And, you know, with the mechanics of a team fight, it can still very easily go in Enclave's favor with the right setup. You know, as we saw in that fight particularly. But obviously the challenge gets harder and harder as this game goes on, and Blue Spirits becomes more easily protected with more items. But that is exactly what Enclave needed, because that Ocean Soul, that would have been a death sentence for this roster.
Absolutely, and they found the window, they found the spikes, they capitalized on it, and now they're in a better situation. Still not ideal, they still have to fight for every dragon and win, but it's given them some breathing space, given them some time to farm up, to sort of mitigate that gold lead that was there, and sort of ease back into this game. And as much as I did talk about the scaling for Munster, they are a 2-carry composition. And one thing I always say about 2-carry compositions is that if you kill those carries, the fight is likely just going to be over. If Blue Spirits gets caught out, I'm not sure D.Va can do enough to carry the team fight solo. So there is always going to be a window, no matter how late it goes, if only Angel can find a beautiful ult. But for now, I mean, Munster, they've got vision control. They're just going straight for this Baron. I think it's just gone.
Munster have got a very quick Baron taking team as well with the Ashe and the oh my god, it just gets taken. And Enclave do nothing about it. That's not exactly what you wanted after capitalizing on such an excellent early game, or sorry, such an excellent defense of the Dragon Soul. But Munster sneak it. And like you said, they have a very quick Baron take, and it happened within a blink of an eye.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to put this in context of like an exam at school, they did the complex equation, and then they didn't put their name on the top. You know, they did the hard part. They managed to pull off a team fight, and then they just sleep on the Baron, and it gets passed off, and it's frustrating to see. And now they have to deal with the fact that Munster got an extra bunch of gold, an extra bunch of experience. They now have these Baron minions to push with. It just, again, puts Munster in an even better spot. And once more, I'm looking towards that Ocean Dragon. We saw Enclave manage to pull it off before. They're going to have to do it again. And then again, and then again. And they have to keep doing it for the rest of this game. And nice dodge away from Jacob, but it just feels like Enclave are now back on the defensive again, just trying to find that window.
And that's not where you want to be with this roster. You know, you want to be the ones being proactive, searching for the team fights, looking for the flanks. And unfortunately, like you said, those opportunities don't come very often. Like, there aren't many times that you're going to get a soul take opportunity on a sort of a dragon team fight like you had previously there. Munster will be ready for it. They'll be looking to set up, and they'll be looking to cover their flanks a bit better than they were previously. Death Dance is on the way for Rabstar here. That is something that we need to keep our eyes on. But Infinity Edge, I think, is very close to completion. Might even be now completed here for Blue Spirits.
I think could well just be finished here. And it's a lot of damage coming out from the Ashe. It does mean if you step up, she will just shred through you. Obviously, Ezreal has a longer range poke, but ultimately, the thing with having a composition like this against an Ezreal is DBL and No Name are happy to soak that poke. You know, if you're firing Mystic shots out from Rabstar, it's very hard to get them onto the high-value targets. Like, he can do a great job at kiting No Name and DBL until DBL ults, but ultimately, No Name and DBL are fine with that. Their job isn't to kill Rabstar, it's to provide for Blue Spirits and D.Va, and they will just clean up the fight. And now you can see, they know the Dragon, they would hope to get it before, they want to secure it now, they're going to push through this jungle, take complete vision control, just try and zone Enclave away. I will say, though, they're missing a lot of wards behind them. We see there's a control ward back towards the river. We see there's a few regular trinket wards there. If we move just to the right a bit, you can see that spreader ward is really concerning because I'm looking at only Angel having TP. I'm looking at Jacob having TP. I'm looking at the flash being up soon for both of them. Those are the wards you need to clean out. And I think this is the mistake here for Munster, is that they're pushing too far forwards without respecting the fact that they're going to have wards behind you. And that is what you're scared of. You're scared of the flank.
You need to do some cleaning on those sides. As you said, the teleports are all up for Rabstar, Jacob, only Angel. There's lots of opportunities around this next dragon fight. And again, they're very cleverly set up for for Enclave, because those flanks are what will win you the game. You know, you combine that with a package, combine that with a good Valkyrie, and suddenly that Blue Spirits is not going to survive very long, especially versus the burst. I mean, Jacob's timed these packages incredibly well. There's the teleport coming in from Only Angel, looking for it, and then walking straight into it as Only Angel is there, and immediately on the back line, Blue Spirits though, Blue Spirits untouched, great arrow onto Only Angel, and he's still alive. D.Va cleaning up the rest of the fight, and that feels like the nail in the coffin for Enclave. That is the 4th dragon of the game, and they maybe even just lose straight up here as the mid lane push is coming out from D.Va and Blue Spirits.
That was the fight. That was Enclave winning the fight, and then Only Angel botched the flash into the wall, missed the ultimate onto Blue Spirits. Blue Spirits was able to turn it around, and then instantly Munster just took the fight. That was it. Enclave had a perfect engage, and then one mistake. And that's the thing. When you're this far behind, one mistake will be enough. They now have that Ocean Soul. They've got the mid inhibitor. It's looking super dire for Enclave, but like, I mean, I think everyone, when they were looking at, saw a winning fight for Enclave until that mistake, and now Sugar needs to interrupt this.
Oh, it's so close. He'll get the ultimate off. I mean, D.Va was looking for it. This pick really doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. Those D.Va, he gets the kill. Maybe 2v1. Absolutely does. Easy as you like for D.Va.
Any more?
No more. The stun is there. The stun is there from Only Angel, but excellent little 2v1 from D.Va.
And you know what? Ocean Soul kicking in there. The healing coming out for D.Va. I think this is it. I think at this point, Enclave missed the opportunity, and now Munster just looking to challenge him even more in the jungle. They feel so confident now.
Yeah, they're going straight in. No name now looking for it. So basically a 4
they just don't take damage
in this scenario. I mean, Rafa's just dead.
Yeah, they just don't take damage anymore. And like we said, the Ocean Soul was the nail in the coffin. It hit to watch, honestly, that team fight. I saw it coming. I saw the huge... The flank from Only Angel would have been perfect, and then he failed the flash, and it's like, okay, game over.
Oh, you hate to see it, mate. You hate to see it. But
and
that's the problem.
It's one of those things that's how I describe it for Enclave. Is they can do the hard things. They can find these great team fight angles, find the flanks. They did in the first team fight, did in the second, and then they fail the easy things. You know, they just had to keep a check on a Baron. I'm not going to talk about this kill because it's gone. They just had to keep an eye on Baron, and all Only Angel had to do was flash over the wall. You know, those are basic things that, you know, you do 99 times out of 100, and you manage to do it fairly. I mean, I guess the Baron's a bit trickier, but to have some presence around that isn't too difficult. To at least have some attention towards it. And it's like Enclave pull off the impossible and then fail on the very easy. And that's why it's so frustrating to watch, in all honesty. But Munster, they're going to pick up this Baron. They've been pretty unwavering this game. And this should be enough for them to just look to try and end this one.
Absolutely. And what I would say about the Enclave composition, when your win condition comes to executing a perfect chem and flank team fight, there are limited windows and limited opportunities that you're going to get to make that happen correctly, right? You know, one wrong foot and suddenly that's your, you know, one foot put wrong and suddenly that's your game out the window. And I think that's one of the problems with what we were talking about when it comes to Enclave's composition, that if you're relying on getting team fight wins through like finding the absolutely perfect angle, you're going to find the wrong angle in some of those scenarios. And that's the problem that Enclave had in that last fight. They just weren't able to get it correct. And then that led to disaster because they'd given up so much in the early game.
Well, yeah, I mean, they missed their true win condition in the mid-game spikes, but it's just frustrating that I feel like they found the angle. It's just the execution was off. It was just a misplay, just a mistake from Only Angel that is going to frustrate him. But now the engage coming in.
Oh, the engage is there. Only Angel looking for the flank. He's not going to find many, though, as DBL absolutely batters the back line with the Malphite ultimate.
I mean, look at the healing. They just won't die.
They just won't die. Jeppe will lead the charge with Blue Spirits. 616, 722, and 414 for our major carries this game, and that is going to be the win for Munster Rugby Gaming. They take the 2-0 versus Enclave, and they settle themselves at the top of the standings.
Puts them in a really comfortable spot. Well played from Munster. I want to highlight that. They had a really solid early game. They transitioned it well. They knew they had spikes in terms of priority early, so they could get those dragons. And they didn't really give much room over to the side off Enclave. I will say my one criticism is you need to watch your flanks. You know that is what is threatening you. You need to sweep out those walls and give yourself cover, but otherwise, Munster looking like a top team in this league. Now, Enclave, again, it's just you find the windows and then you make a mistake. You win the dragon fight and then you miss the Baron. You find a beautiful flank and then you fail the flash. But like you said before, this is highlighting the problems with their secondary win condition. Initially, the primary win condition was to play for those mid-game spikes, and I just feel like bot lane is still struggling. We saw weaker play from Shogun this time. Sometimes it's Rabstar. We saw a really weird contest around that Herald. I think Enclave still have a long way to go. They're still lost in a lot of things. But, I mean, we talked about this before the game. We saw their peak there. We saw what they can potentially do. We saw they know how to find these great angles, these great team fights. It's just, why does it need to come to that? Why can't they just deliver on the basics? And I think that's the main frustration for me.
Yeah, it feels like when it comes to some of the more really complex mechanics, that even that we talk about at NLC level that they get wrong, Enclave were actually doing some of those things really well. But when it comes to knowing which item spikes makes your carry strong and playing around it, like knowing which objectives to contest in the early game, knowing how to play to your primary win condition, the things that really just should be like basic League of Legends. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. I mean, obviously we can say it from a position of privilege. We're not playing the game, but like it just felt like they weren't hitting those marks. And then when it came to the stuff that was really hard to pull off, like executing a great cannon flank, comboing and taking down blue spirits on the Ocean Soul point, they hit that well. They got it right, but when it came to the basic stuff, like you mentioned, Enclave just weren't hitting the mark, and that is what's holding them back, I think, from really breaching the top two in our league right now.
Yeah, I've got to agree, and I think until they manage to close that gap, like again, they're near the top of the table. I think it's very unlikely Enclave don't make playoffs, but it doesn't matter, because if they play like this, they'll get smashed. And I'm just saying it really, if they play like this, they will get annihilated. Eminem will trash them, Munster will trash them, London might well trash them, whoever else we have. And it bothers me because we came into this saying Enclave one of our top rosters, and I still believe that. I still believe this roster can be really good. It's just they need to fix these issues, and I guess that's why I'm going on them so hard, because a lot of these players are veterans. You know, a lot of these players have a lot of experience, and even the new players in the roster have shown some good stuff. I think if anyone watching wondering why we're going so heavy on them, it's because we had huge expectations from this team, and they're not quite living up to them. So hopefully they can bring that through. But speaking of expectations, Munster blown them out of the park, and I think over the weeks this team has got better and better. I've had occasional bits of criticism to dish out. You know, DBL last week a little bit off. We saw the wards behind on the flank, but this is honestly nitpicking. I think this team is really showing a lot of strength, and considering the breadth of new players who are new to the league, it's just great to see. And I really hope we see this performance continue into the last week and into playoffs.
Well, we have a short break coming away, and when we're back, we will be interviewing Blue Spirits, who can talk to us a little bit more about the expectations of Munster Rugby Gaming Academy, and obviously the next few weeks going towards the playoffs. Welcome back, everybody, to the UKLC. We're actually just trying to coach Blue Spirits, who's here for an interview about how he could potentially see us on stream. But alas, I don't think we're going to get that far before we bring him in. So actually going to bring Blue Spirits in and say hello. Hey, mate, congratulations on the win again. I feel like we're going to see a lot of you over the course of the next few weeks. I think, first off, congratulations. And secondly, you and Jeppe have been having unbelievable bot lane performances. I actually have said strictly I believe you to be the best bot lane in our entire tournament, which is crazy to say, I guess, considering how quickly you've risen to that point. Talk to me a little bit about that game. Like you sort of actually I'm going to rephrase this. You and Jeppe obviously seem to work together really well. What do you guys do? Do you guys like sort of play solo queue together, or is it just kind of all kind of working in scrims? Like, what is it with you and Jeppe? Because you just seem to gel together really well as a bot lane.
Well, we talk on like Snapchat all the time. I think that's like one of the big things. Like, we're not just like colleagues or like a bot lane duo, but we're like also friends, you know. And we talk like on Snapchat and like on Discord, and just like, and it's not even always about League. Like, we're just really good friends, and like, he picked Lulu because he trusts me, obviously. Like, he's not going to pick Lulu because I can't auto attack properly. So yeah, like, I think we trust each other enough to, you know, like, do things like this. Sorry, I must have sidetracked. I forgot what the question was, but
you answered it perfectly, mate. Don't worry.
Right,
You did a good job.
He just got lost thinking about Jeppe.
Yeah, true.
Basically, he told me that the power of friendship is the key to their key to their bot lane success. So there you go.
And I think it can go a long way for like trusting your teammate and being able to give feedback and not take it personally and stuff. But my question is going to be a little bit more about your opposition. So obviously you've just had a great game there against Enclave. I think 2v2 you obviously came out ahead. Looking at the rest of the teams, is there any bot lanes that you think could potentially challenge you, or do you think you have a clear advantage over everyone?
Well, as you guys have probably seen, I think London's bot lane is quite challenging for me. Like, I always just get really nervous when I play like against London, but like obviously we played 2 games against them now, so we won't play them again until like playoffs or something. I don't really know how it all works, but yeah, like I think mainly London's bot lane is what I'm afraid of. But like I've like since the London game I've actually really improved, I believe personally. So like maybe even they won't, you know, challenge us as much as I thought, you know. But yeah, like probably London's.
I think London have got a great bot. I mean, Raisins has been around forever. He's got a great head on his shoulders in terms of the way to play lane matchups and the game in general. So that makes a lot of sense to me. In terms of kind of like looking forward to the future, like obviously UKLC is the goal to win that. Then potentially, have you got your eyes set on NLC? Like, what is the aspirations of Blue Spirits? You know, over the next few months. I mean, I think we briefly touched on this last time we had an interview, but has that changed? Do you feel more confident now, or you know, have you got a bigger goal in mind when it comes to professional play?
Well, I mean, NLC is definitely like what I want in the future. Like, this is my second split, right? The first split was in UKL, and it was just because like I didn't really like have like a brand for myself other than being the Red Bull 1v1 champion in the United Kingdom. Yes, I bring this up in every conversation, but actually also got the trophy right here.
I remember you winning it, mate. I remember you winning it. I was there.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah, no. But wait, what was the question? Sorry, I forgot.
It was
goals,
you know,
goals, general goals.
Your goals
right.
for your professional.
Yeah, no, definitely NLC. Like, this is my second split, and the first split was just like, you know, I have to do something to show that I can play in UKLC at least, you know. So yeah, like I think because I've learned so much, and it's just like, and as the split goes on, I feel like I'm getting way better as well. Like, it's not like I've just like learned the basics and I'm stopping. Like, we just continue to grow after every single scrim session every day. Like, yeah, so like with all the practice that I've gotten, I think I'm definitely not the same ADC that I was at the start of the split. So at the end, I'll probably be a lot better than I am currently, and then like just exponentially until I can get into NLC, hopefully. So yeah, like I aspire for NLC, I think.
I think you definitely have what it takes to get there, Blue Spirits. I'm certain I'm going to see you there. Hell, I'm certain I may even get to see you on the LEC stage one day, mate. So thank you so much for joining us for the interview. Do you know what? It's always such a pleasure to interview you. You're such a nice person, and I hope you have a success in your remaining games, and we get to see you potentially on those stages in the future.
Cool.
All right, guys, we are going to go to a quick break. When we're back, it's the second game of the day. Don't go anywhere.